Hi and welcome back. My name's Faye and I run Faye Wilde Education. Today I'm interviewing the incredible Hannah from Board of Busy and I cannot wait for you to see. Without further ado, let's crack on, and then you'll also find lots of helpful resources that we mention in the chat down below. Thank you so much.
No.
It's so nice to meet you. Like, I've followed you for ages, so it feels weird. It's always cute. I feel like I'm using these interviews to just be really nosy with people that I follow online and really like, so it's
I
nice.
love it. Yeah,
And I
yeah,
feel
I
like
know.
if I'm nosy, then other people will want to
Yeah, yeah,
say
yeah, yeah,
something.
totally. And we're all innately nosy, like as humans.
Yeah. Before we get started, can you tell people watching who you are?
Yeah.
What
So
you do?
I'm Hannah Chambers, and I am the founder of Board of Busy, and I call myself a hybrid business mentor for high achieving women. And the hybrid bit for me comes from the fact that I was very like, I'm struggling to put what I do into a box of like a classic box of like, what is it? Because I'm so multifaceted with how I help my women that I was like, actually, I don't want to just be like just a coach or a mentor or this or that. Like, I'm so hybrid in everything I do. And that comes from the basis of my process and how I help women in business, from laying the foundations and the infrastructure in their business to hold the busyness in their brain, to build the structure to help them scale their business. And then for me, it's then about like, okay, now we can get into the GUI, the mindset, the self leadership, the stuff that's going to take you from where you are now to exploding in measures of success, whatever that means to the individual. But I am very much like, unless a woman has the practical elements in place of my work, I don't believe if she's already busy, there's no point, working on mindset. There's no point working on new ideas if you don't
Yeah.
have the physical and mental bandwidth to execute it, which
Yeah.
is why I'm like a bit practical, then a bit mindset, and then a bit leadership
No, I love
into.
that as well because the gooey stuff is the stuff that's really hard. Like, that's not going to come without trust. So I suppose you start on the practical surface level stuff and get those wins, and then the guard starts to come down, I imagine, so that you're
Mm,
able to work on that mindset.
yeah,
So it'd be a lot if you were just in like, right, tell me about your childhood. Let's go.
yeah,
Like, where does
yeah,
this
yeah, yeah.
busyness come from?
Yeah, exactly. And then I feel so passionately, and a gap in like my journey of coming to where I am now is seeing such successful, on paper, successful women going off doing amazing things, impacting other women's lives incredibly and generating great income off the back of it, whilst simultaneously feeling like they might combust at any minute, feeling like they're not actually living a
So
life of like
hard.
fulfillment and alignment, because they're just constantly on this hamster wheel of like doing, output, 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 because they haven't been given the practical tools to actually like work out, like, how do I get all of this out of here somewhere where I can see it? If I can see it, it becomes tangible. I can
Yeah.
manage it, I can organize it, I can always feel it and work out like, what the hell should I be doing? And that's part of the problem, is that whilst the busyness for me from a lot of women that I work with comes from holding like their life living rent free up here, and we're talking tabs on tabs on tabs, and that's holistically across business, family, and just existing as a woman with her own identity. Like, it is a lot to be a
Yeah, it's
woman.
all layered, isn't it? There's a
It's
lot
layered,
that goes in.
yeah. It's so intertwined, which is why I'm like, when I work with women, like, I go all in. I'm like, we're gonna clean out your drawers and getting your knickers out, your worst grotty granny ones, and there's no judgment, but it's gonna get messy before we relay it better and
It's
neat
so
and tidy.
interesting because when I do mentoring, it's exactly the same. Like, we cover so much stuff that you wouldn't expect to cover in a photography mentoring session, but so much of this stuff that's overwhelming you has got nothing to do with your actual business. But when we think about our to-do list, we think about these practical jobs that actually we could tick off quite quickly. But it's
Hmm.
actually the overwhelm of all these other, like the mental load,
Yeah,
that's all the stuff
yeah.
that's making it impossible, isn't it?
Exactly. And I always notice with the women I work with, the feeling of I have so much to do is way worse than the reality of what needs doing. And the sitting with that, like on your chest and on your shoulders, of being like, oh my God, I've got so much to do. I'm so busy. Like, I'm really overwhelmed. And then when I get them to actually tell me, okay, so what do you need to do? It's not actually that much, but we've trained ourselves to live in this like environment of like busy output, doing so much to do all the time, go, 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 that that feeling is more consuming than the actual stuff itself. And that is part of the problem.
And I completely agree with that, because I definitely used to get really overwhelmed. And something that helps me, just a little practical thing that I do, is just to put small jobs inside notes, because the dopamine that I get from ticking off those little jobs is really good. And then as soon as you've ticked it off once, you're like, right, what's next?
Yes.
It sounds so trivial, but even things like clearing your inbox, it feels like a mountain. But if you do it every other day, it's just keeping
Yeah.
up those little jobs, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, yeah, momentum loves action, and it doesn't matter, like, a 1% gain is still a move forward. So it doesn't matter what it is, but we look at all these things, particularly in business, as like huge mountains we have to walk up, right? And so then
Yeah.
we just sit intimidated by it, rather than looking at, well, actually, if I broke it down into a way that allowed me to just, creep imperfectly forward, momentum builds, confidence builds, trust with ourself builds, that actually I can do this and it isn't that hard.
Yeah.
And then that is just it's just a cycle of behavior, then it
There's
becomes a
there's so much to unpick with what you're saying. I feel like we've gone 100 miles ahead.
yeah.
Pull back a little bit and just start with, we will get there 100%, but I'm really interested to hear. You've mentioned women and you've spoken a lot about the female brain and, how we work. Why do you specialize in women?
Yeah, I mean, I do work with men, but I market to women, obviously, and I think it's more to do with how we interpret the world, like without getting into like brain structures and stuff, because typically there isn't anything different between a male and female brain, but how we feel the world is very different, in my opinion, to what a typical man experiences the world like. And a lot of that comes down to, and if I talk about my experience as a mum as well, is that invisible load, is the emotional load, as well as the physical, the mental, like the different things going on in my brain for the people that I am caring for and the roles that I
And it's worth
play.
saying that even before you have kids, this is still very much a big
Exactly.
difference, because it's not just parents, it's
No,
always
absolutely not.
been the way.
Exactly. And I think even, in terms of our relationships with other people, how we hold the feelings and the space for them, like you can see it play out in all different like sectors. And we go about executing stuff very differently, in my opinion, in our typical behaviors than what men do, and hold on to stuff. And so it's a bit more intricate, and there are a lot more layers to it. So as a woman and as a mum and a business owner, like obviously I recognize, I feel that so deeply, and I see it play out with all the women that I work with. But I think the key thing is that I want women to win so badly. Like I see the power and the talent that we have being stifled by all of the thoughts, feelings, and busy action, suppressing and diluting us, like showing up as our best selves. That I'm like, actually, if we cut the bullshit from all of that, if women actually had the tools to deal with it all, then we all win together, we all rise together, and I believe the world would be like an even better
It's
place.
interesting as well, because I've definitely been through, I mean, I'm mid-30s now, so I've had a lot of past lives before I ended up in photography, but at every different part of my career, I've definitely felt different things, as in, do I need to suppress my femininity? Do I need to suppress these extra things that I'm holding on to? Can I show who I am? And it men aren't having these conversations with themselves, are they? Like, they're not, do I need to change my personality, or like, what? Do you know what I
No,
mean? It's just so
exactly.
interesting. And when you say it, and it's almost become a thing now. I was talking to some friends about this the other day. We don't talk about it as a thing because we're feminists, so we don't want to
Mhm.
acknowledge it, because
Mhm.
almost by acknowledging it, you're putting yourself
Yes.
down here when you're just as good as your job. But really, it's a detriment to you to discredit it, because it is very much a thing and it exists,
Yeah.
whether or not you want to embrace
Yeah.
it or
Yeah.
not. We do not have
Yeah.
the same tools as our male
No.
counterparts.
No, we don't. And it's so intricate, and it's like obviously it's absolutely drenched in history and all the
Yeah.
reasons that why we're here. Like I could talk for hours about it. But yeah, to like come back to your question, is I'm just like, if more women had the practical tools to start with, and then the emotional tools and the self-confidence to just flip and go from it and be unapologetic. So I'm all about like, go for what you want and do it unapologetically, without justification or explanation. Like I'll always say to my clients, because they say to me often, like, I know I should be, and I'll be like, I'll stop you right there. I don't care what you think you should be doing. Like, should has been born from social media, from society, from comparing ourselves to other people living their own experience and whatever going on. Like, I don't give a shit about what you think you should do. What do you want to do?
Yeah, I love
What
this
do
so
you
much.
want? Because if you can harness what you want, and I don't care if it's like a 360 on what the typical like photography industry or like business mentoring industry tells you you should be doing, if it's the complete opposite. But if you want to do it, you're more likely to succeed
Yeah.
because you love it, because you
But
enjoy
then
it.
with that word succeed as well, it's like, what does success actually mean to
Mm,
you? So, like in mentoring and in my course as well, we talk a lot about figuring out what it looks like to you because you've not got the same resources as Jenny down the road or Paul
no.
next door. Like, it has to be what looks like to you. And then to go back to the other thing that you've just been saying, like when I came into photography, on paper, I was very successful, hit the VAT threshold fast.
Mm,
I was on paper thriving, booking all these
mhm,
incredible weddings, and on Instagram it looked incredible. And my DMs were just like, how do you do it all? Blah, blah, blah. But I wasn't seeing my child. Well, I was, but not enough. I
yeah.
wasn't traveling enough. And also, I'm a very spontaneous, free-spirited person, and I felt crippled by my calendar. Had these incredible bookings, but I wasn't enjoying anything because when you've just got
Mhm,
so much in the calendar that you almost don't look forward to plans because it's
yeah.
just so intense.
Mm,
But then I went through this weird journey where I felt like I couldn't acknowledge that I was upset because did that make me ungrateful? And my
mhm,
friends and people that I knew were struggling to get the bookings. Like I couldn't talk to anyone about it. Then it's like when we realize what's happened now is like I'm stepping back into my maternal instincts and my femininity and I'm embracing it and I'm not seeing it as a weakness. I'm like, no, that's my personality. I want to have the flexibility to take my son on holiday.
yeah.
I want to have the freedom in my calendar to do this. And on paper, I might not be generating as much income. Like I actually made the decision to deregister as VAT this year. Let me tell
Mhm.
you, trying to stay under the VAT threshold is the most stressful thing. Like when you've just not had that ceiling for ages and then you give yourself the ceiling again, it's
Yeah.
but that's a challenge that I'm happy to do because I know that if I stay under that, it'll force me to have more balance, which does not come
Mm,
naturally to me. It's
mm,
almost like I've been fighting my entire career to be one of
yeah.
the boys and to
Yeah.
not have all this baggage and all of this stuff. And now I'm like, maybe I don't mind the baggage. Like maybe I quite like being at home more with Frank or whatever and not being afraid to sound like a silly little girl. Do you know what I mean? I don't know
Yeah.
if that made sense.
No, totally, totally. And it's not. So in my marketing, I rarely talk about money and financial goals. Success is so subjective and it comes with zero judgment from me about from one person to another. But what I will say is that it is not surprising to me that every single six-figure business owner I've ever worked with has gone through this journey, you know, chasing the numbers, chasing the cash and the shiny and the momentum and the boom, 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 only to realize, is this is what I've been told I should want. And I'm
Yeah.
listening to other people. And annoyingly, for what I hate for women, and I'm constantly fighting against with my line of work and how I work with women, is that it's almost like a rite of passage. It's a shitty rite of passage that I wish people didn't have to go through because
But you
sometimes
don't
you have
even realize that you're in the rat race. You don't even
no.
we feel so independent and so strong and so in control. And we're making these decisions like it's hard work to get there. You feel like you're in control and then you get there and you're like, why am I here? What am I
Yeah.
doing with my life?
Exactly. It's like hustle culture for me, and I live by the phrase like I talk about like hustle should be a season, not a lifestyle. Because if you are in business, you will have to hustle. Fact. When
Yeah,
you're starting out,
100%.
we hustle. You have to go balls to the wall, and you have to grind, and you have to stake your claim in the sand. Like I am here and I'm doing it to get your name out. We all have to do that. The skill comes from the self leadership and the tools to be able to like shift into gear to hustle but then pull back into first gear.
And it's
And
knowing when to slow down, isn't it? That's
exactly,
the key,
exactly.
yeah.
And knowing that, okay, now I'm going to launch a new project and I'm going to have to go back into sixth again, but I can pull myself back. But the issue is in getting started and the noise that's out there in marketing, particularly for women, in chasing, doing, and more, and numbers and what have you, in the name of freedom, ironically, is just go, 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 go. And then there isn't the infrastructure or tools taught to enable a woman to be like, and now I can feel in control enough to shift back without it derailing everything I've worked so hard
And
for.
all the while, simultaneously, like at the same time, you've got this invisible load of, I can't show weakness, I can't show my feelings, I can't show that this is too much. Maybe I do want these other things, but I'm not going to
Mhm.
show that because I've worked so hard to get here.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's just impossible because let's be real, we are the one that gets pregnant. Like, we are the one that has to take the time off. We are the one that if we choose to breastfeed, we have to breastfeed. So it is a consideration if you are a mid-20s to mid-30s girly, which is when most of us decide to have children. Why do we make ourselves feel bad for being
Mhm.
aware of that biological clock and still wanting
Mhm.
a career? It's like you feel guilty if you want to have children, then you have a child and you feel guilty if you want to have more, or you don't. Like,
Mhm.
at every stage there's just this crippling weight of, well, what do I want to do next? But instead of it being what do I want to do, it's what should I do? I
It is
feel very
so.
passionately about this because these are the conversations that I have with my mentees, and they just don't know what they want because they've just
Mhm.
got so much like noise that
Yeah, yeah, and that's the same for everything. And I'm like, right, it's a skill in itself to be like, blinkers on, baby girl, blinkers on. Who are you? What do you want? And you don't have to know. Like,
how
I
much
think,
time do you want to have, you want to be doing in that time?
yeah,
Work.
but also it's okay to change. You don't have to know all the answers in this exact moment. Like, I very much look at everything I do as like everything is a season. Like, I've got a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old. Like, we are in a
Oof.
season with them at the moment. Yeah. And the 3-year-old, he's feral. He's a caveman, man. He's like, it's my fault. He's me. He's got my attitude and my determination. Like, he'll be
I love that.
doing big things in the world. But right now, it's tough. But it's a season, it's not forever. So my goals right now are very aligned to, survival
Yeah,
and maintaining a calm nervous system around my children. But
yeah, no, I love that.
he's going to grow and my season is going to change. And that is okay. Like, we have to give ourselves permission that what you want right now in this, even in these next 2 months, 3 months, like whatever amount of time, that's fine for the moment. It's like that staying in your own lane. And
Can be
that is
hard though, especially with social media. Like, as a newer photographer going onto Instagram, say they've been doing it for a couple of years, they've started to develop their own style, but they're still very much influenced. Because until we get our own style and we've done enough weddings to know what we don't like, it's too easy to look at other people's work and be like, that's what I want. Have
yeah.
you got any like common questions that you ask new clients to help them figure out what they want from their life?
Yeah, so I get them, anybody that works with me in either one-to-one capacity or my group program, I get them to do some journal prompts around reflecting on where they are now. How does it feel? For me, it's more about feeling. Like, what does it feel to be you right now in your business? And what do you want it to feel like? Like, what is the gap? Like, when you imagine yourself in your place of success, what does that look and feel like? What is the gap? Where are we going? And all of the women that I work with can articulate it so beautifully. They can feel exactly where they are now. And it's never about money. It is never about money when they come to me. It is all about
At
their
peace.
experience of life. Yeah. About the choice, about the actual freedom. Because again, people talk about freedom as being like, I can work from when I want, I can work the hours that I want to work. Like, sure, that is part of it. But also, if you're not working all of the hours and you're working from you're able to go on holiday and stuff, but your brain can't switch off, is it really freedom? Like, I would argue not, because you're still not
Yeah, I've been
totally
on
in it.
so many holidays where I wasn't even there, where I
Yeah.
was editing until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. But I was like, oh, I'm editing in Cornwall, but I was dead. There was nothing left. But yeah, I remember like last year, I had worked really, really hard. I got into this really bad habit of every time that we were going to go away, because we do travel quite a lot, to be fair, but you take on more work to pay for stuff because you're like, oh, we're going here. I might not go there again. So let me just do
Mhm.
another shoot and then that'll pay for us to do this experience. And then, of course, with photography, with every shoot, you've got the travel, you've got the editing, you've got the hotels. So it's not as easy to generate. It looks like an insane hourly rate, and it is, but by the time you've got all the expenses and the other resources, it's all of a sudden not as special. And there was one turning point where I had a gallery due and I tried my best to get it done. I'd been pulling all-nighters. And for
Mhm.
context as well, I was a teacher before I did this job, so I'm no
Mhm.
stranger to hard work. Like, I've been a head of
Oh,
department, I was teacher for 10 years, like,
God bless you.
and I think as well that was part of the problem because teaching is such a hard job. So because I love this so much, it was so easy
Mm.
to overwork. But I remember being in Cornwall, it was like 3 a.m. The boys were asleep. and just feeling so alone. And I was like, on paper, my life looks fucking mint. Away like all the time. I'm giving Frank this incredible life. It's everything that I wish I'd had growing up. I was like, I'm so tired all
Yeah.
the time. That was
Yeah.
like a really big pivoting moment, which like kicked off this is too much now. I need to strip things. But even when you decide that you're doing too much, it's not linear, is it? Like it.
No, it's really not. It's really not. And when you're, particularly when you're in it, when you are so in it, you can be like snowblind to like, what do I need to do to actually remove myself a bit more or change up the way that I'm doing things? Because again, so much of what we do is habit behaviors that are formed over time. And half the stuff, when I talk about busy behaviors with my clients, like half the stuff you don't realize you're doing, half the stuff is like subconscious, and it's only when you're exposed to it and a mirror is held up that you're like, oh
I
my God.
suppose part of it for me as well was because you don't want to be a nag. You know, you wake up as a woman, or you grow up, sorry, as a woman, and anytime we express anything negative, we're
Yeah.
bitching, we're moaning, we're nagging. So it's like you grow up wanting to be like a cool girl. Like, I don't want to be like other girls. I don't have
Mm-hmm.
feelings. I don't need any. But then
Mm-hmm.
you don't tell your husband that you've been up at 3 a.m. crying, and then the next
Mm-hmm.
day he's just unaware because why? Why would he be aware?
Yeah.
And then you're like even sadder because you're like, how does he not know that I'm feeling like this? But we don't tell anyone. So I
Yeah.
think a big thing that was pivotal for me was to actually start communicating how much I was struggling to my inner
Mm-hmm.
circle. When I started talking to people, sorry, my other cat's come to say hello. Like, even when I started to talk to people in my inner circle about how I was feeling, nobody could believe it. They were so shocked because I just kept
Mm-hmm.
it so like,
Yes.
I mean, now
Yeah.
the lid's off and I'm moan all the time.
It's free
But
flow.
at the time, like, it was just so
Mm-hmm.
weird for me to talk to anybody about how I was feeling because
Yeah.
I just felt so ungrateful.
Yeah, I also think there's a massive, my, like, I really resonate with that. And my personal experience is that I'm hyper independent, and I always have been as a teenager. It
Yeah.
goes back to like my parents' separation and having to just kind of like fend for myself a little bit. I was 16, like, going through an adolescent like transition, being hyper dependent, independent, and learning. You just have to crack on. You just need to keep going. It'll be fine. You can do it. It's all good. And that took me right through my 20s in masking the pressure and
Yeah.
masking the feelings going on, because I am this independent person. People come to me for help. I can do it. And so it carries for me like
If
quite
you
a
get
masculine.
if you get your joy from like a lot of my joy that I get is from doing stuff for other people. So it's like the more stressed I was, the more I was doing stuff to bring joy to other people. So it's like
Mm,
they think you're happier, but you're not. It's
yeah,
weird, isn't it? It's like
yeah,
the sadder you are, the more you do for other people. It's so weird.
yeah.
Like this has turned into like a mental health. Like through mentoring, I've realized that so many of my mentees do exactly the same thing. The response, and that's obviously where your name has come from, the response to discontent is to stay busy, to
Mm,
disconnect from actually tackling what's making you overwhelmed and
yeah,
to just do more
yeah,
because God forbid you stop and actually face it
yeah.
head on. Like,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And God forbid I change the narrative and fill my time with things that I want to do versus stuff for other people, because that would be selfish as a
yeah,
woman. That would be selfish as a mother to prioritize what you want. And that is, that's a whole other podcast for
yeah.
another day. But that's what
Yeah,
I
it's.
come up
I read
against.
something the other day, and like it's probably on TikTok, and it was talking about how we as women jump through all of these hoops to have a base level of happiness, but happiness is a human right. Like if we're sad, we don't need to show off all our receipts. We can just be sad, and that's fine because it's
Yeah,
a constant state of
yeah.
being. And yeah, I've gone off on a bit of a tangent there.
Yeah, but
So
no, but this is honestly the women that come to me, particularly in the one-to-one capacity, what they want, they often say, and it's similar, is I just want an hour a day to be able to go and walk, to be able to do it. It tends to be around wellness and fitness, because I think I attract people that have an interest in that, because I'm quite interested, like I run and do HIIT workouts and stuff.
yeah,
So there's a commonality of like shared interests and hobbies. So it tends to be that. It could be anything. But when people say that to me, I'm like, great, we can do that. That's not a problem. But also the undercurrent of that, I'm like, it is not unreasonable. It is not a big ask to be able to go for a walk every single day. And that's what we're fighting for. That's what we're
And then you
fighting for.
resent the golf weekends and the golf trips, and they're going, but then they're going out for like 3, 4 hours. Not that my husband plays golf every weekend,
Yeah.
but it's like a running joke, isn't it? Like you see all the Instagram reels and the TikToks about they go out and do this, like why can't? And a lot of women do it, and everybody's got a lot of balance. I'm really careful to not like talk about gender roles too much.
Mhm.
Like my husband is a saint, for
Yeah.
example. But that
Yeah.
doesn't mean that I don't like make myself small. He's not done that to
Yeah.
me. I
Yeah.
just
Yeah. Exactly.
naturally like,
Exactly. And yeah, likewise, my husband is phenomenal as well. But it has taken a lot of communication between the two of us for him to understand how my brain works and how it feels to be me, and vice versa as well, and
yeah.
strike the balance between us to make living our life and the kids and our own identities and work and blah 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 like happen. We don't always get it right. It's a constant situation. But yeah, yeah, again, that basic human right of being able to go and walk for 30 minutes. And that's what these women are fighting for. And I'm like, it's
And I
bigger than
guess
that.
that
Of course, it's
30-minute
bigger than that.
walk, that hit workout, that run, it will all look different to people. But I guess it comes down to just checking in and really thinking about what success looks like. If you don't know what you're working towards, how can you facilitate it? You need to
Mm-hmm.
know what it is that
Mm-hmm.
you're
Mm-hmm.
working towards. So you mentioned before you do one-to-one programs, group mentoring, and I'm guessing the main consideration for which one to do would be based on budget. But how would you say what are the like main benefits of doing one over the other?
Yeah, so my one-to-one and my group program have a lot of similarities in that the group program is a distilled DIY version of what I deliver for my one-to-one clients. And so in both situations, I am showing people how to create a business and a life system outside of their head so that they can close down the mental tabs, create some spaciousness and some capacity, both physically and mentally, to hold themselves. But also with that comes like the beauty of, okay, now once we've done that, your business is scalable. Once you've done that, we can bring in people to support you. Like there are so many like little nuggets along the way that I'm like, and now I've just taught you to do XYZ. But the premise is that how do we build the infrastructure to support you outside of your brain, both in life and business? Now in my one-to-one work, I do the building for them because the businesses tend to be bigger, turning over more money, and have more complexity in terms of people and size. And so naturally, the women have less time. So I do the infrastructural build, and then we do a lot of coaching and mindset and behavior analysis off the back of that. In my group program called She Builds Better, it is like a done with you. So it's you implement yourself, you follow my training videos, and then I'm there for mentoring, coaching, and then strategic and technical overview. So I'll go in and review work.
What you've done, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But the outcome is the same. The intensity is just slightly different. So yeah, somebody that is completely, my head's about to explode, I'm about to burn my business to the ground, I can't cope anymore. That's a one-to-one situation.
Yeah.
Like you need me
Because
SOS.
you go in and you actually
Yeah.
make the building blocks and you're like, right, this is
Yeah.
what you're gonna do.
Yeah. Here's the
Go.
framework. This is my interpretation. And then I get where the hybrid bit comes from as well is that I have got a framework, I have got a method, but I also celebrate diversity in how our brains work. And I'm very aware that, we've got a lot of ADHD, we've got a lot of dyslexia, we've got a lot of neurodiversity going on. All of our brains work differently.
Yeah.
And I celebrate that. And I'm very keen to build businesses that work with your way of thinking.
That's the benefit, the one-to-one identifying, because I do that as well. It's like your obstacles are going to be different to your best mates. Like we need to figure out a way that's going to help you get to where you want to be, considering all of the factors that make it.
But yeah, I really, particularly when I work with different, ways of our brains working, I can celebrate so hard. I can see it in so black and white. I am very neurotypical, but I've worked a lifetime with so many different flavors along the way that I can celebrate. I can see so clearly, like you are like excelling in this area. Let's not focus so much about, the stuff that stresses you out. We can make that really easy. There are solutions for that. But how do we make the good bits even better? And how do we play to your strengths? And
it's interesting because from a teacher perspective, you always focused on what the kids did well, because if they found it easy, they did better typically. If they were interested in it and they found it easy, because we like being good at things, it's human nature. So if we're putting too much stock on the negatives, it's very easy to get into that negative headspace, to not be as
Exactly.
productive. So as a
Exactly.
productivity coach, it makes sense to find those positives, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And you know, every the back end of business, everything is fixable. Everything has a solution. Like the really exciting thing, and I think particularly where I work, I've been working with people in the wedding industry, is that you go into the industry that you're in or the niche that you're in because of your creativity. And I think a lot of that does go hand in hand with, you know, like ADHD and being hyper focused and stuff. Like you excel in the delivery of the thing that it is. And that's why you went into business. You started your own business to do the creative service. So it makes sense that all of the back end technical stuff and what have you feels heavy and is like, you know, I talk again, we'll talk about the busy behaviors of like procrastination, distraction, avoidance, shiny object syndrome. Like that is all us, our bodies doing stuff because we don't want to do the other stuff in our business for whatever reason it is. And it's like, cool, that's great. There are solutions for all of that. But you know what we can't replace is you, your personality, and how you deliver your creative service. So we need to protect that. Like, let's not
No, we
water you down.
can't, because something that I talk about as well in the course, my course, is about outsourcing the things that don't bring you joy, so
Yeah.
that there's more space for the things that you do love. And that's a good way of avoiding burnout, because we only burn out when we're doing menial tasks that we don't see the value in, feel like we're wasting time. Is that something that you recommend in your coaching program as well? Like, do you help people determine what stuff to outsource and what that might look
Yeah,
like?
exactly that. But I suppose I like build the village. I'm pro village, but where I have seen opportunities in the years that I've been doing this in business is that, you know, we're taught to outsource, we're taught to build teams, we're taught to get help, but we kind of like we the delegation becomes more like abdication because we're not actually sure ourselves, like what is it, what
That's
part is it.
headspace, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. We don't know because we're living in chaos. We're chaotic and we're busy. I need to get help. I don't have enough hours. Here's a VA. Here's my inbox. Help. And then when it doesn't go the way they expect it to go, when they're not instantly like relieved of the pressure and the time and stuff keeps coming back to them, they're like, well, this VA is no good. And I'm like, actually, no. It starts with like 9 times out of 10, nobody's perfect, but it starts with the business owner and it starts with the clarity around like, what should I be doing in my business? How frequently should I be doing it? What does good look like to me? How do I like to communicate? Like, what are all of the parameters? I'm talking here about like, what's the process? What's the SOP? And so my starting point is to work out, okay, so what is all of that? What are all the things that you are doing at the moment? Like, what is I talk about business in rhythms. What is the rhythm that you play to? Let's nail that down out of your head. Because if you can understand it, you can then delegate it to somebody else and
Yeah.
they are set up for success and they
Yeah,
have
it's a
got.
lot easier for somebody to manage your Studio Ninja or your, if you've already selected the images that you want from a
Mhm.
gallery to put in a blog, they can then blog it and do those menial
Exactly.
tasks. But it's when people are expecting somebody to live inside their brain, and that's just not how you're
Exactly.
creative. No one sees things the way you do, otherwise you would
Yes,
have
yeah.
direct competition.
Yeah, exactly. And so I suppose my job is helping individuals to like let's extrapolate that information. You
Yeah.
might not know it consciously, but it's in there subconsciously. And so part of my method is to get it all out, help the individual. They might not know, they might not have like a full system and setup, but you know, we can talk about what could it look like. And then helping people really identify, okay, so what would that role look like? Because then we can be like, I'm all for the emotion and, you know, living with our feelings as a female leader. But, you
Yeah.
know, the masculine baseline of dealing with data, dealing objectively, dealing with structure is super helpful too. Because if we can see the data and we can make business decisions based off of it because it's tangible,
Yeah.
we can then lead ourselves much better. We can then lead other people much better. We can bring people in to help us so much more effectively and efficiently. And you know what? When somebody does a great job for you, it feels amazing. It feels amazing for them. We empower probably another, in my world, another woman, a VA or a social media manager. They're in their zone of genius doing an amazing job.
Yeah.
You're feeling really great. You're able to have such fluid constructive conversations, because you know what the fuck it is that you want. But if you don't know what you want, because it's trapped up here under layers of
It's just
all of
about
stuff.
releasing the overwhelm, isn't it? To make space for what you want, to make space for
Mm,
the idea of what you want. If you're
exactly.
living in burnout, you can't have these conversations with yourself and
Hmm.
you can't get out of it. You need to
Yeah.
first get rid of some of the to-do list and just make
Hmm.
space for that.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
I'm a wedding photographer. What problems might I have that you would be like, yeah, come to me, we'll deal with it, no problem, let's go.
Yeah, no. I think it's how much of your business is living in your brain? How much are you holding onto as mental tabs or across post-it notes or notepads? It's a common theme I see across women, not just in the
What do you
photography
mean in
business.
terms of like ideas that people want to try, or what do you mean?
Everything. You're on a shoot, you're at a wedding, and suddenly you forgot something. It's popped up in your head. Oh my god, I didn't do that thing. Like, it's
Right.
not safe. I've got to hold it in my head, or I write it down on a note app, or I scribble it down on a piece of paper that I then can't find in the future, and I waste 20 minutes scrolling through my notes through to find, or berating myself because I didn't remember that thing. I think it's that whole, how do I create the system to hold me physically and emotionally while I'm out doing the thing that I am amazing at. And then knowing, for me, it's about that safety. Everything is safe. What I need to do in the back end of my business and how I'm going to grow it, scale it, etc., is safe. It has a home. It has I talk about like a business HQ,
Yeah.
so that as soon as you're back from that wedding or whatever the shoot is, back into your business, you know exactly what needs to happen next, how long it should take you, where the information is. That list of priorities is there for you.
It's almost like the processes are gonna relieve that headspace and
Mhm.
let you have space for other things like growth and balance, all of that stuff. So
Exactly.
it's part of like working on the processes and streamlining it, because I feel like I'll never be happy with my processes. I'm constantly trying to save more time
Mhm.
and be more efficient. Is there an element of choosing what things to let go of completely? Like, how do you
Mm.
help people decide what to prioritize and what to bin off? If that,
Yeah. So part of my process is, once we've got everything out of your head in what you're doing, what you think you should be doing, what you could be doing, like all of these different variables, it's then that kind of like much to you guys with your galleries, like that culling process. Like, I will do like a deep analysis through like coaching of like, why are you doing this? And that's not loaded, but like, why are you doing it? What is the outcome?
yeah,
90% of the stuff is, oh, because I saw somebody else said that I need to do it. Oh, because I had a conversation with a wedding planner that I said that I needed to do X and Z, Y things, but I hate doing it. And, it's the last thing on my list. And I'm like, oh, babe, let's put it in the bin. If it's not
yeah.
like doing it just because you think you should or you could,
Can you
like,
give me some examples of things that you told people to bin off, and with the caveat that for some other people that might be the
yes.
thing to keep?
Yeah, totally. Things like, there are some basic things like, why are you checking your inbox 5 times a day? Like, is that necessary because you're
Oh yeah,
living?
the reply within an hour, or they'll
Yeah. Reply because they feel bound to somebody else's agenda rather than their own. Classic things like posting on all of the social media platforms.
yeah,
Do you enjoy it? Do you want to? Is it getting the best out of you? Okay, we'll put it in the bin for now. Like, let's absolutely smash the pants out of one platform, and then once that's a breeze, let's layer in another. We don't have to do everything right now.
yeah.
Things Lots of things are like just knowing where stuff is in my business. So people have got links saved across in their inbox, in their Google Drive, on a Word document, saved in Instagram, saved a link here, there, and everywhere, like, general disorganization. And I'm like, right, well, we need to one place for everything, one source of truth, one
Yeah,
easy way to.
if you're watching this and you've not got a master spreadsheet yet, which has got all of your information in one space where you can zoom out and see everything, like, get it, because it's going to save your bacon. That's the first thing I do in mentoring. Write everything down, hours, what medium you're shooting on, if you've sorted out your hotel, and it's literally all in one document. And then so how many decisions do we have to make? We need to know where we're going to be. Like, we book these weddings 18 months in advance. Like, you need
Yeah.
to know. But if we're going into Studio Ninja or Dubsado or the Google
Mhm.
Calendar, which is what you're saying, you're hemorrhaging so much time. Hey,
Hemorrhaging.
every time you get an inquiry, you're like digging into this
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And you may think 9 times out of 10, like, well, I've got all my separate systems. I've got my Studio Ninja, I've got my
Yeah,
Dubsado, like I've set up these things to help me be more efficient. But if you're still jumping, finding information multiple times a
yeah,
day, like we are losing. I think they say like technically you lose 15 minutes every time you context switch because the time it takes your brain to re-engage with the thing that you were doing.
yeah.
And that is one of the biggest problems. So I talk about building businesses in one place, one source of truth.
I love that
You
so
know what
much.
everything is. Yeah. And more importantly, my biggest kind of like sneaky tactic that I'm playing is I build businesses for women with under the understanding that they are going to hire a team at some point. Now that might not be true for them.
Facts of
Yeah,
that, so
but I'm like, ultimately, I want you to have a business built with choice. I spoke about choice earlier. And so if you are building a business based that is streamlined, efficient, and effective, why would you not lay the foundations that make it really easy for you, but make it easier for somebody else to literally glide in and pretty much know I've got 90% of their business, the structure, how they do what they do already there. Because the biggest compromise I see for the women I work with is we hire support. It's too late. It's too late. And we go, it's great that we're doing it anyway, but we learn too late that I needed support. I bring somebody in and then it's like, oh my God, now I have to train them. I don't even know how I do what I do. How do I have the time to tell them? And it's a hot mess. And so many women get burned and their trust gets eroded.
it's interesting. It's because it's photography as well. We feel like we can't scale our business. I know that that's not true because it's something that I've
Mhm.
started to do in the last 18 months. You can scale a photography business and it doesn't have to look like having a studio where other people do. You can still be the person that goes out and shoots the wedding and edits the wedding, but that
Mhm.
is such a small part of the job. Like there's
Mhm.
so much more to our job that we can
Yes.
scale and we can let go. And that's really
Yes.
good that you've said that because I feel like that was definitely a misconception that I had for a
Yeah.
really long time. I just
Yeah.
thought it was impossible, so I never even tried to put
Yeah,
those
yeah,
systems.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I worked with a wedding stationer earlier this year and went through in a one-to-one capacity, went through this whole process, like did all this marvelous stuff, like amazing. Her business is incredible. She's doing amazingly. And when we came to speak about like, how could you get support in the future? It was like a light bulb went off and she was like, well, I always just assumed I would outsource to another designer. Like I never thought it would be possible somebody else could do all of the admin stuff that I was doing, like because everybody else just hires additional designers. And I was like, well, why would you do that? Because the design bit's the bit that you like. You
Yeah.
hate all the other stuff. So let's streamline the heck out of it. Let's get your ducks in a row so that at that moment that you're like, right, I'm getting big. I haven't got, I'm feeling pressed for time and capacity. Bring somebody in to do the stuff that you don't like. And it's all set up for you, hum, because we did
Can
the
I
work
say as
ages.
well, like, something that I said last week and it like really resonated with the person that I said it, so I feel like it could be helpful to the person watching. Like when you are thinking about these decisions and scaling your business, just think about how easy it's going to make your life. Don't think about your peers and what they're going to have to say about
Yeah.
it. Because I
Yeah.
feel like so often we think, oh, that would be really good. Oh no, that's not how we do it. You almost
Mm-hmm.
discredit, even though you've come up with it intuitively, this could
Yeah.
work. Like, no, can't
Yeah,
do that.
exactly. Is exactly. And how much
So
do we count?
silly, isn't it?
Yeah. I will go on the premise of do the things your future self will thank you for. So every time you're in a moment where you're like, oh God, that was hard work, then add on, how can I make this easier next time I need to do it? Because so much of business, I don't care what anybody says, I would die on a hill, is repetition.
Yeah.
We do the same stuff over and over again, just in a different time frame. And the deliverable might look slightly different, a different client, but you're doing the same process again and again. So don't make it hard for yourself when you come to do it again. It might be, it might be doing your yearly tax return or your accounts or like whatever it is. Hopefully you've got a bookkeeper or an accountant you're getting support with. So it's easy. But if you're not, like every year you get to the end of year and you're like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. Well, you do it every year. So,
Yeah.
let's get the process down. Let's make it easy. Let's make it findable so that every time you repeat it,
It's
you're not in the
processes, isn't
same
it? It's having
just
a process,
processes.
even if it's not perfect, it's having a process which is predictable that you can go back to. So you mentioned accountancy. I do profit first loosely. So
I,
the way for every bit of income
mhm.
that I get. And then when I get my tax bill, I've got the money, it gets
Yeah.
paid off and it's gone. Last year I had a hip replacement. So I actually used some of to avoid getting like a loan, I used
Hmm.
my tax money and thought, save it up over the year. I'm nearly there now. That's the like ramifications of doing it. It was 100% the right choice because I would have wasted thousands of pounds in interest. The stress that I've had this year of like, have I got enough for that tax bill? Is it going to be there? And I've just thought, fucking hell, thank God I don't have to do this again next year, because already the income that I've got, I've just upped the percentage. So it
Yeah.
is building slowly, but even knowing that it's not paid off yet, in my brain, it's the headspace that you mentioned earlier. It's an unnecessary thought
Yeah.
that's taking up space and causing me
Mhm.
stress, and it doesn't need to
Exactly.
be there.
Yeah. Living rent free in your head,
Yeah,
stealing joy, time, capacity. And most of the issue with that is it's sneaky. 9 times out of 10, it's subconscious.
yeah.
It's not living right in that front bit. It might pop up and say, "Hi, I'm here." You're worried, but 9 times out of 10, it's that subconscious. And so, yeah, if we can put in the infrastructure and the tools that you can learn to regulate yourself through the
Yeah, like
tangibles.
make a note of things that cause stress and think
Yeah.
about like if that's so money, not to go into my personal life, but I don't have a get out of jail free card. Like I've got
Mhm.
nobody that I can rely on. If I don't pay my
Mhm.
bills, that's it, they're not done. So money is not a stress for me because I've got my finger in a lot of pies. That's because I know that if I didn't have the fingers in the pies, I
Mhm.
would get stressed. So figure out whatever it is to you that needs to be a priority. If you're fine, if you're secure, because maybe, I don't know, you've got family money, or your partner supports that bit of you, that's not as much of a concern for you, but you know that you get really down if you get burnt out, then you
Mm.
know that your priority needs to be staying creative, maybe doing
Mhm.
shoot, and it will look different for everybody, but it's about
Yeah.
understanding the obstacles, isn't it, and like what
Yeah.
you need.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly.
I love that.
And I would talk about like it's this self-leadership. And there's a lot of noise out there about like outward leadership to other people, to our clients in business and stuff. But actually for me, it starts with self. If you can understand your own behavior, how you show up at your best, the things that compromise your energy, your emotions and things like that, there's an element of control. And
Yeah.
I'm a type A. I call myself a control enthusiast because I don't control freak sounds negative. And I think there's a lot to be said about, being the person that understands how to be in
I like
control.
that. I
Yeah,
like that a lot.
control enthusiast. But it comes from a place of I know I am a shit wife, I am a shit mom, I'm not a good friend when I allow the
Oh,
world to get too much for me. But you know what? I can control that. I can build. This is where my business model and what I do has come from, is knowing control what you can control. So the things that you can't control, you can deal with better. Like I can't control what mood
yeah.
my 3-year-old's going to come home in, but I can control feeling calm, feeling centered and regulated in my business, so that when he meets me with his caveman energy, I'm in a better place
Yeah,
to deal
100. I resonate with that so much. And I think as well, like to complement that, it's just about knowing that you're not a finished product, and you can do your best this week, and next week it might be a bit harder, or next week you might be thriving, and then the week after it might be shit again. But it's doing
with.
whatever you can with the tools that you have at any given time, isn't
Hmm.
it? And just not making yourself feel too shit if it's not going your way, like just
Yeah,
picking yourself up and
yeah, yeah,
having that
yeah,
resilience, I guess.
yeah,
Right,
yeah. And
we've only got like 5 minutes, so I just want a quick fire because I do not want to keep you for too long. How bad would that be if I kept the productivity coach for
no,
a long
I
time?
mean, as you can tell, I do not struggle to sit and yap about this. Like I'm so passionate, I could talk for hours.
I
So
feel
if
like
there's
we
one,
could talk all day.
yeah, like so easy, and this for me is like the funnest thing in the world. So I'm
I
not
love that.
clockwork.
I love that so much. So, I want to finish off with some practical steps. I'm just going to give you some scenarios that have come up in mentoring in my course. Of course, I know how I would deal with it, but I'm really interested to see like into your brain and just practically things that you might suggest. So, something that comes up a lot is imposter syndrome, and looking at your own portfolio and thinking, don't love it, but I don't know what I don't love about it. I'm not
Mhm.
excited about my work. What would you suggest for a person in that situation?
Keep taking action. Messy, messy action. The worst thing you can do is sit in your discomfort and the feeling of not enoughness or lack,
Because
and
I
let
feel
it
like that's why
consume.
people don't post, for example. So that's
Yes.
exactly what you've said, bang on, yeah.
Exactly. Keep going. And again, then if I'm meeting that kind of like self-leadership awareness with the practical element, I tell my clients, set the rhythm. What is the rhythm you're showing up on social media as a baseline? for me, I'm like, good in my business looks like, posting on my Instagram grid 3 times a week minimum. My discipline outweighs my motivation to do that. I have built that into my system. So no matter how shit I feel about, what do I want to say today? Or, oh my God, somebody said exactly what I want to say and they said it better. You have committed that you're going to show up 3 times minimum this week. Like, you owe it to yourself to do it, because deep down, that is irrelevant. That is just all bullshit. It's just noise. And the thing that is going to move the needle forward on your business and get you bookings and get you inquiries is being visible. And you can do that 3 times a week, whatever it is, 4 times a week,
And if
whatever
you
the number
know
is.
that 3 times a week is going to be really hard for you, then batch it. Because then if you
Mhm,
batch it, you've only got to be uncomfortable once, and then you sit down and you schedule the content, and that's just once
mhm.
that you feel like shit. So it's just once that you've got to show up. I
Exactly.
wanted to talk about batching actually, because we spoke earlier. You made a really good point, which I talk about all the time, which is the 15 minutes that takes you from one
Mm,
context to there, and how batching can be such an unsung hero of efficiency. If I do video interviews, I'll do them all on the same day. I will not edit on the same day, because
mhm.
the Faye that's editing is not the lovely chatty. It's not like the happy-go-lucky, like really
Yeah.
excited, enthused person. It's editing. Like, let's get this
Mhm,
same with shooting. So like, I wouldn't do a motherhood shoot in the afternoon and then a engagement shoot in the morning. It's different energy. Like, I could
mhm,
do it because I used to be a teacher. I can shapeshift, but the
mhm,
mental headspace that it takes to go from this context to another is
yeah.
insane. Have you got any other examples of how people might batch jobs? If we think wedding photographer specific, because that's
Mhm.
mostly who watches.
Yeah, yeah. I think the biggest thing that, like you said, theme your days as much as, I mean, the date a wedding comes in, like, you can't predict, you can't control. But 9 times out of 10, I'm yet to work with a photographer that has loads of weddings on a Monday or a Tuesday. They tend to be later in the week. So if you know that to be the normal theme of the business, then let's make Monday an admin day, and we do all of the back end stuff. Let's make Tuesday a more of an editing day. Now, again, I say that with a pinch of salt, because it is all relative to your preview timeframes and your gallery timeframes and all that good stuff, and the dates. But it is just knowing. But the thing that makes all of that possible is knowing all of the things that you need to do in the back end, and not having them up here, is having them somewhere they live outside of your head, so you can objectively see, this is what needs doing today or tomorrow, and these are the timeframes. I can really see and prioritize, because I'm not, rocking up to my desk after I've done back-to-back weddings Friday, Saturday, I had a family day Sunday, and I know I've got culling and previews to do. And then you rock up to your desk and you're like, oh, and I also need to do da 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 da, and I need to get back to this person. And you're making a list off the top of your head. Like, you can't be focused and productive and efficient if you're just, skimming off the top of your brain, which is why we need to build it outside of your head in that rhythm. So you can, to your point, look at, okay, how can I batch the themes of my tasks? How can I batch my days as much as physically possible around my weddings, etc.?
Things that come to my head of like being able to make that possible is having good lead time, so that you're not turning around gallery. If you're new, you shouldn't be offering turnaround in 6 weeks or less, because you're working out how to edit. Are there any other like general bits of good practice that you can think of that might help photographers to stay efficient? Sorry, I don't know if this is like too
Yeah. No,
niche.
no, no.
I know that you work with all women, not just wedding
Yeah.
photographers, but
Yeah, 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 yeah. Again, I think that I hear a lot of conversation with the photographers I do work with around, oh, I can see competitors that don't have children offering previews in 24 hours. I can't do that. And I'm like, babe, don't feel bad about that. That's fine. That is okay. Like, 24 hours, like, that's not sustainable. Like, particularly, I know the peak summer seasons you guys are doing when you're blocking it in, and the length, like, man, it is a lot. So, you know, let's not kick ourselves for not being superwoman. She does not exist. Let be realistic, to your point, like with those 6 weeks and the preview times and things like that. Like, it is okay. And expectation management, being really, really clear. 9 times out of 10, we're creating a situation in our head, right, about what our clients must be thinking. Oh my God, they must think I'm awful because it's taken me more than 2 days to get preview to them. They're not thinking that. They're probably still like, ow, my feet hurt from dancing all night and this
yeah.
hangover is still raging.
And
Like,
also, if your work's good enough because you've made space in your life, to create work from the soul, they are still going to pick you over somebody that does the previews the next day whose work doesn't align with them. I feel like
Exactly.
sometimes these deliverables are distraction for connection. I don't know if that makes
Mhm.
any sense. I
Yeah.
mean, is if I'm looking at this photographer and this photographer's work speaks to me, it doesn't really matter what the deliverables are. Like, yes, it'd be
Mhm.
great if I got previews, but if I adore their work and that's just
Mhm.
okay, I'm not going to go with that person just because they give me that shit at work. So
Yeah.
I'm going to
Yeah.
wait for the stuff that connects with
Yes.
me. But
Yeah.
we get so distracted by all of that. And I mean, I do previews, but that's because I, ADHD, love the dopamine hit. I just want
Yeah.
you to tell me that you love me straight away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah. Yeah.
that personality. But I wouldn't like, sometimes it does take me 2 days and that's,
Yeah, that is, it is okay. And the thing is, I like the particularly photography, like it's art as far as I'm
yeah,
concerned. Like the skill and the talent. And I know like certainly the people, you can feel like the market is so saturated with photographers, and that can put you on edge to be like, oh my God, like I have to do more. My output, squeezing my deliverables and showing up more and more, 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 more. But actually, like you said, at the heart of it is quality, and the soul aligned clients that you really want to work with, they see that and they feel that. And 9 times out of 10 from my experience of the photographers I've worked with, but it's also true of the other business owners I work with, is they're buying you as an
yeah.
individual. Yes, they're buying your artistry and your work, but then it's you and your personality and your energy that really to them is like, yes, that is my person. And so,
I think you can tell, sorry to cut you off, I've just thought when you said that, I think you can tell the personality of the photographer by the guests in the
mm,
photos. And I get
mm,
all the time, like people say, oh, they look really relaxed or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, because I'm personable. So I chat to them all day. So when I walk in with my camera, everybody's feeling relaxed, everybody's happy. And I think you can tell what the photographer is like by not the
yes,
couple, but by the general people in the
yeah,
background. And you can't, like, if you've got nothing in your cup to create that work or to be that person, to be that friendly
mhm,
face, photos, and you're going to lose that connection. So it's like every tangent that we've gone off in this conversation is very, like, also metaphoric for the noise that we have as creatives in the
yes,
industry. But if we take it back, we're just trying to create work that connects with people. We're
yeah,
trying to create work that we're obsessed with. All this other
mhm,
stuff, it doesn't matter. If our work
no,
is good and it feels true, we
yeah,
will find our people and
yeah,
we'll enjoy
exactly.
our work more as well.
Exactly. And then that is just such a positive cycle of
Yeah.
I love my work. I love the clients I'm attracting in. They're a joy to work with. They're charging me my worth. This feels worthwhile. I'm having fun. Like that positive, like narrative, go, 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 go. Everything else kind of then, in my opinion, feels irrelevant
Yeah.
and becomes less noisy or becomes less, I don't know, less defining in you because you're so like immersed in the good cycle that you're
And
like,
we take it for granted, like how infectious that energy is. Like if you're
mm,
struggling for bookings and you're putting on your Instagram stories, I've got this many dates left for next year. Somebody's reading that and thinking they're still available. They've not been
mm,
snapped up. If you're showing up on stories and you're like, oh my God, look at this fucking glass from,
yes,
oh, what's the bar that I went to the other day and the toilets were insane. It's really going to bug me in London, in Soho. I went to Broadwick Soho. I was like, this fucking toilet. I put it on my close friends. I was in there doing this video. I was like, look at the walls. They're so soft and like
yeah,
unhinged, absolutely unhinged. But the amount of reactions that I got from my clients, like, you crack me up so much, you're mental. But that's going to get more of a reaction because it's
yeah,
authentic. Talking about data and like, that's
mm,
not the
mhm,
energy that we want. Like, when did we start talking about filling gaps and like
yeah,
making everything so admin-y when, as you said, we are artists? Like, share that
yeah.
side of you. And
But
I'm sorry.
I was going to say, but a lot of that, don't you think, stems from we have been taught as women, well, don't toot your own horn,
Yeah,
arrogant, like, but
yeah.
actually, no, show like, okay, you might need a couple more bookings for this year. Instead of going out looking for the dates, share one of your favorite pictures and toot
Yeah.
your own horn and be like, oh my God, look how amazing, like my work is not quite like that, but you know what I mean? Like
I know
celebrate.
exactly what you mean. And this is something that I talk about all the time. Like, find what you're obsessed with, share it. Because every time you share something that you're obsessed with, it's another opportunity for somebody to connect with that. And connections at the core of it. If you connect with a couple, they're going to pay you your rates, they're going to find the budget, they're going to make sure that they don't miss that client call, because they do not want to lose out on you, because there's no one else that will see their wedding through your eyes and only by showing that off. But everything that you've said, it's about making the headspace to be connected with that version of yourself. Because if we're
Yeah.
drowning,
Yeah.
we're not laughing at the glassware, we're crying in the
No.
toilet. It doesn't
No,
matter how
yeah.
bloody gorgeous the toilet.
Yeah, you're not stroking the soft wall, you are rocking in a corner instead. No, it's all good. But it's so true, because chaos breeds chaos, people. Like, you
Yeah,
cannot be your most creative, abundant, and like unapologetic self if you are
yeah,
moving from a place of scarcity, reactivity, and chaos.
yeah,
And it's terrifying to create the space. But once you create the space and you sit with it, actually, you're like, opportunity,
yeah.
clarity, confidence, control,
And
opportunity.
it's such a shift. And like, if it's the last thing I say in this call, like the biggest change happened in my business where I just started saying, well, what do I want to create? And I really started listening to me, because who we are is shaped by all of our past experiences. And instead of seeing that as a negative, like tuning into all the good things that everything that got you to this
Mm.
place has brought. This is so woo, but I'm quite woo, sorry. I'm very
No,
woo.
don't
But I feel
apologise.
like everything you've said as well, it's just about getting rid of the noise and
Yeah,
just reconnecting,
yeah,
because
yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
where the happy bubble is, isn't it?
Yeah,
And
totally, totally. I think I'm getting more woo as time goes on, but I pinpoint
welcome
them.
to mid-30s, although you don't look old enough to be mid.
31 and a half
It's
ish,
coming,
maybe.
that's why you're getting more woo,
Yeah,
because you're getting to.
yeah, yeah. I am at that point where I'm like, I'm 30. What birthday did I have last? So, we're coming there.
Yeah,
But I was, the moment Bored of Busy was born, because I was sat in this exact spot at my laptop at the breakfast bar in the kitchen, basically being like, I don't want this for myself anymore. I like this human experience that we have. Like, I do stand by, we're here for a good time, not a long time, people. Like, it can be taken away like that. So why are we stressing about the stuff that needn't be that stressful, and go and do the fun stuff, the impactful stuff, because we are here for a good time, not a long time.
dots
Like,
in space. We're
yeah,
dots in
exactly.
space.
Dots in space, and like everything else is really, really irrelevant.
Oh my God, that was such a good chat. I loved it so much. I'm so excited to like share this chat. I just think it's been incredible. You're amazing. I just
Oh,
think
thank
it's
you so
amazing.
much.
Have
Thank
you
you for having
enjoyed
me.
it?
Yeah, I love talking. I love talking with people, whether women on the level that get it, that feel it. And I'm just so like wholeheartedly like in my always been in my feminist
Yeah.
era, but I'm like, there's more women win. We rise together, we support one another, and like, it's just so much better for the world.
Yeah. And like you said, you work with guys too. The last thing that I wanted to ask you was, if people want to work with you, how do they find you? How do they get your enlightenment in their own?
So, I live my life on Instagram under Bored of Busy. That is the best place to find me, through obviously my grid posts, but I talk a lot in my stories. And I've got my group programs called She Builds Better, all about, women, that a movement of women having the tools to build better businesses to support them, or my one-to-one for the people really in their chaos era that are like, enough is enough, but everything
Yeah.
is like Instagram. Slide into my DMs, because I love the Instagram tribe. That's what I'm all about.
I love that. Oh, it's been so nice to meet you. Thank you so much.
Good luck with all the toilet trips and
Oh no,
stairgate
it'll be
scraping.
fun. Worth the effort. Well, have a good day.
You too. I'll speak to
See
you
you
soon.
later.
Yeah, bye.
If you love this episode, please do consider subscribing. I'm showing up all the time with loads of things that I think are going to help you, from vlogs to interviews with other incredible people. You can also find out about my course Align, which returns on October 12th via the link down below. Thank you.